The Wyoming night howls like a wounded beast, the blizzard's icy teeth gnashing at the world beyond. A faint knock, fragile but insistent, slices through the wind's wail. A little girl's voice, trembling yet piercing, rises above the storm. "My mommy can't walk anymore. Please help, Daddy." A weathered cabin door groans open, its splintered wood protesting the cold. Cole Ramsey stands in the threshold, a rugged cowboy with a face etched by years of loss, his eyes, shadowed by ghosts he's tried to outrun, widen as he takes in the small figure before him. She's a stranger, shivering in a threadbare coat, snow dusting her like ash. Yet she calls him Daddy, a word that lands like a fist to his chest, stirring memories he's buried deep. Inside the cabin, a fire sputters in the hearth, its glow barely holding back the chill. Shadows dance across log walls, scarred by time and weather, where a single photograph rests on the mantel. A woman's face, her smile faded to a whisper of better days. Cole, nearing 40, slumps at a rough-hewn table, his calloused hands tracing the worn grip of a revolver long, retired from its deadly work. His dark hair, flecked with gray, falls over a brow heavy with grief. A tin cup of coffee, cold and untouched, sits beside him, steam long gone. The wind batters the shutters, rattling them like bones, a constant reminder of the prairie's merciless heart. He's alone here, has been for years, the solitude both punishment and shield. The knock comes again, sharper, more desperate. Cole's hand tightens on the gun, his pulse quickening. Strangers in these parts spell trouble. Bandits, drifters, or worse, men from his past come to settle scores. He rises, boots thudding on the creaking floor, and yanks the door open, the cold rushing in like an uninvited guest. There stands Ellie, barely 8, her small frame swallowed by a patched coat. Its seams fraying like her hope. Snow clings to her unraveling braid, sparkling like tiny stars against the dark. Her wide brown eyes lock onto his, fearless despite her chattering teeth. In her arms, a rag doll dangles, its button eyes dull, one loose thread trailing like a tear. "Please, mister," she says, voice small but steady, cutting through the storm's roar. "My mommy's hurt. She can't walk. Our wagon's stuck. About a mile out. You gotta help her. Daddy." The word Daddy hits Cole like a bullet, sharp and searing. His grip on the doorframe tightens, knuckles whitening under wine-chapped skin. "I ain't nobody's daddy, kid," he growls, but his voice cracks, betraying a flicker of doubt. Ellie doesn't flinch, her gaze unwavering, as if she sees past his gruff exterior to something he's forgotten. "Mommy said you'd help," she says, clutching her doll tighter. "She said you're good, that you'd know what to do." Her words carry a strange weight, like a promise made by someone else, someone who knew him before he became the shadow of a man. He stares at her, the wind whipping snow between them, and feels a tug in his chest, a memory of laughter, of a life lost to blood and fire. Cole steps onto the porch, the cold biting his face like a lash. The Bighorn Mountains loom in the distance, their peaks jagged against a sky heavy with snow, silent judges of this lonely land. Ellie points into the swirling white, where the trail vanishes into a void. "She's out there," she says, her small hand trembling as it grips the doll. "Mommy fell trying to fix the wheel. It broke, and she couldn't get up. I tried to pull her, but I ain't strong enough." Her voice wavers, a crack in her bravery revealing the fear beneath. Cole's mind churns. Blizzards like this bury men alive, their bones found come spring, if at all. He could shut the door, let the prairie deal its justice. He's done it. Before, turned away trouble, kept his heart locked tight. But Ellie's eyes, bright with desperate hope, pin him in place. He thinks of the photograph, the woman he couldn't save, the promises he broke. "Not again," he mutters under his breath, jaw clenched. "Stay here," he says, voice rough as gravel. Turning back to the cabin, he grabs his heavy wool coat, its edges frayed from years of hard use, and a lantern, its glass smudged with soot. A coil of rope hangs by the door. He takes it, knowing the storm could swallow them whole. Ellie tugs at his sleeve, her small fingers surprisingly firm. "I'm comin' with you," she says, chin raised. "Mommy needs me, and I ain't stayin' alone." Her stubbornness catches him off guard, a spark of something like respect flickering in his chest. He kneels, meeting her gaze. It's dangerous. Kid, you sure? She nods, clutching her doll like a shield. I'm sure. For a moment, a ghost of a smile tugs at his lips, the first in years. Fine, he says. But you stay close. You hear? He wraps a wool scarf around Ellie's face, tucking it carefully over her nose, his rough hands gentle despite their scars. The gesture feels foreign, like a language he's forgotten. They step into the storm. The lanterns glow a frail spark against the endless white. The wind screams, stinging Cole's face with icy needles, each gust a reminder of the prairies. Cruelty. Ellie's small hand grips the rope tethered to his belt, her steps unsteady, but determined, her breath puffing in tiny clouds. The trail stretches ahead, a faint scar in the snow, leading to a gully where the wind cuts deeper, like a blade through hide. Mommy said we're going to Montana, Ellie says, her voice muffled by the scarf, barely audible over the storm. Said it's safe there, where nobody can find us. Cole grunts, his boots crunching through drifts, his mind snagging on her words. Montana's a world away for a woman and child alone. Why are they running? And why Daddy? The questions gnaw at him, sharp as the cold. Ellie stumbles, her small frame swaying in a gust, but she rights herself, clutching her doll tighter. Mommy's strong, she says, as if to convince herself. She carried me when I was sick, all the way from Denver. She don't give up. Cole glances at her, surprised by the steel in her voice. She's no ordinary kid, he thinks, her courage out of place in such a small body. The trail dips lower, the snow deeper, swallowing their tracks as fast as they make them. The lantern swings, casting wild shadows that dance like specters. Cole's thoughts drift to his past gunfights, betrayal, the night he lost everything. He pushes the memories down, focusing on the girl beside him, her determination a quiet rebuke to his own retreat from the world. A shape looms ahead, barely visible through the storm's veil. A wagon, tilted at a drunken angle, its canvas flapping like a wounded bird's wing. Cole's gut tightens, his hand brushing the revolver under his coat. The wheel is snapped, clean in half buried in it. The Wyoming blizzard rages on, its howl a relentless beast clawing at the world. Cole Ramsey trudges through the snow, his lantern's dim glow barely piercing the swirling white. Ellie, the small girl who called him Daddy, clings to the rope tethered to his belt, her steps faltering but stubborn, her rag doll clutched tight against the storm's bite. The broken wagon looms before them, its canvas flapping like a tattered flag, the snap wheel half buried in a drift. Cole's heart pounds. Not just from the cold, something about this moment feels like a reckoning. He brushes snow from the wagon's torn flap and peers inside, his breath catching at the sight of a woman slumped against a crate. Her auburn hair, matted with frost, frames a face pale as the prairie snow, but her eyes, sharp and green, flicker with life as they meet his. Cole climbs into the wagon, the wood creaking under his weight, the air thick with the scent of damp canvas and desperation. The woman stirs, her hands clutching a worn shawl, fingers curled like she's still fighting to hold on. Stay back, she whispers, voice frail but edged with steel. I don't know you. Her gaze darts to Ellie, who scrambles in beside Cole, her small face bright with relief. Mommy. Ellie cries, dropping her doll to grasp the woman's hand. He's here to help. I told you he would. Cole's jaw tightens at the girl's words, the weight of Daddy still heavy in his chest. He kneels, keeping his movements slow, his voice low to avoid startling her. Name's Cole Ramsey, he says. Your girl says you're hurt. I'm gonna get you out of this storm, but you gotta trust me. Her eyes narrow, searching his face for a lie, but Ellie's small hand squeezes hers, and she nods, wincing. As she shifts, her name is Anna, she says, her voice barely above the wind's wail. Her leg is swollen, the ankle twisted from a fall while trying to fix the wagon's wheel. Cole examines it in the lantern's flicker, his scarred hands steady but gentle as he probes the injury. It's bad. He mutters, not broken. But you ain't walking on it. Anna's lips press thin, her pride warring with her pain. I don't need carrying, she says, but her voice falters as she tries to move, a sharp gasp escaping. Ellie's eyes well up, and she buries her face in her mother's shawl. Don't cry, baby. Anna murmurs, stroking the girl's braid. We're gonna be fine. But her glance at Cole betrays her doubt, a flicker of fear she can't hide. Cole's mind races as he wraps Anna's ankle with a strip of cloth torn from his own scarf. The storm's a killer, and the wagon's no shelter, it's a coffin if they stay. His cabin, a mile back, is their only chance. But carrying Anna through the blizzard with Ellie in tow feels like tempting fate. He thinks of his own losses, the wife and child taken by outlaws years ago, their faces burned into his memory like a brand. Helping these two could drag him back into a world he's fought to forget. But turning away isn't an option, not with Ellie's hopeful eyes watching him. Hold tight, he says, slipping one arm under Anna's shoulders, the other under her knees. She stiffens, her pride bristling, but her body betrays her, leaning into his warmth. I ain't got a choice, do I? She says, or I edge to. Her voice that makes Cole's lips twitch, almost a smile. He lifts her, her weight lighter than he expected, her shawl smelling faintly of lavender despite the grime. Ellie grabs her doll and the lantern, insisting on carrying it despite the wind's pull. They step back into the storm, the snow thicker now, swallowing the wagon behind them. The trail back to the cabin is a blur, the rope Cole tied to his belt their only guide. Ellie stumbles beside him, her small hand gripping his coat, her breath coming in quick puffs. You're strong, she says, voice muffled by the scarf Cole wrapped around her face. Like Mommy said you'd be. Cole grunts, his focus on keeping Anna steady, but the girl's words nag at him. Who is this woman, to know anything about him? And why does Ellie's trust feel like a weight he can't shake? The wind screams, the Bighorn Mountains looming like silent sentinels through the haze. Cole's boots sink into drifts, each step a battle against the cold that claws at his bones. Anna's head rests against his chest, her breathing shallow but steady, her fingers clutching his coat as if anchoring herself to life. Why are you doing this? She murmurs, so quiet he almost misses it. You don't know us, Cole. Doesn't answer right away, his gaze fixed on the faint glow of his cabin in the distance. Your girl didn't give me much choice, he says finally, his voice rough but soft. Anna's lips curve slightly, a ghost of a smile, but her eyes stay guarded, hiding secrets as deep as the snow. The cabin's outline grows clearer, its chimney a dark finger against the stormy sky. Cole's arms ache, but he pushes on. Ellie's small figure a shadow at his side. Inside, he sets Anna on a chair by the fire, its embers barely alive. He tosses a log onto the flames, the crackle filling the silence as he kneels to check her ankle again. Ellie hovers, her doll forgotten on the floor, her eyes darting between her mother and Cole. You're gonna fix her, right? She asks, voice small but fierce. Cole meets her gaze. The fire in Cole Ramsey's cabin snaps and pops, its glow pushing back the chill that seeps through the log walls. Outside, the Wyoming blizzard howls, rattling the shutters like a warning. Anna sits by the hearth, her injured leg propped on a stool, her auburn hair catching the firelight like embers, her green eyes sharp despite her pain. Follow Cole as he moves about the cabin, his movements deliberate but heavy with unspoken questions. Ellie, curled up on a blanket nearby, clutches her rag doll, her small face softened by the warmth but still etched with worry. The faint rumble of hoof beats from the storm lingers in Cole's mind, a shadow that won't fade. He glances at the faded photograph on the mantel, a woman's smile, frozen in time, and feels the past creeping closer, like the cold pressing against the cabin's walls. Cole sets a tin cup of steaming coffee in Anna's hands, the aroma mingling with the scent of pine and smoke. Drink, he says gruffly, avoiding her gaze. It'll warm you. Anna's fingers wrap around the cup, her knuckles pale, but she doesn't drink. Instead, she watches him, her expression a mix of gratitude and suspicion. You didn't have to do this, she says, voice low, steady despite her weakness. Take us in. Risk the storm. Why'd you? Cole shrugs, poking the fire with a stick, sparks rising like fleeting stars. Your girl's got a way of not taking no for an answer, he says, glancing at Ellie, who's humming softly to her doll. Anna's lips twitch, almost a smile, but her eyes stay guarded, holding secrets she's not ready to share. Ellie's humming stops, and she looks up, Her brown eyes bright in the firelight. "Mommy, tell him about the letters," she says. Voice eager, unaware of the weight her words carry. Anna stiffens, her cup trembling slightly. "Hush, Ellie," she says, sharper than intended, then softens, stroking the girl's braid. "Not now." Cole's gaze narrows, catching the shift in Anna's tone. "Letters?" he asks, voice low but pressing. Anna hesitates, her fingers tightening around the cup. "Just stories," she says, too quickly. "Things I told her, to keep her calm on the road." But Ellie shakes her head, undeterred. "You said you wrote to a man who'd help us. A good man like Daddy." The word Daddy lands like a stone in the quiet cabin, and Cole's hand freezes on the fire. Poker, his heart thudding. He turns, his shadow looming large on the wall. "Who's she talking about?" he asks, his voice rough but steady, eyes locked on Anna's. She meets his gaze, unflinching, but her fingers fidget with the edge of her shawl. "Nobody," she says, but the lie hangs thin between them. Cole steps closer, his boots heavy on the creaking floor. "She called me Daddy out there," he says, voice low, almost a growl. "Ain't a word a kid throws around for no reason. You know something about me, don't you?" Anna's jaw tightens, her eyes flickering with something fear, maybe, or guilt. She sets the cup down, hands steady now, and takes a breath. "I knew your wife," she says finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "Clara, we were friends. Back in Denver, before she passed." The name hits Cole like a blow, stealing the air from his lungs. Clara's face flashes in his mind, her laugh, her gentle touch. The night she and their unborn child were taken by outlaws in a raid he couldn't stop. He turns away, gripping the mantle, the photograph staring back like an accusation. "Don't speak her name," he says, voice raw, barely controlled. Anna presses on, softer now. "She told me about you, Cole. Said you were a good man, even after you turned hard. Said you'd protect anyone who needed it." Her words cut deep, stirring guilt he's carried for years. He wants to lash out, to shut her up, but Ellie's small voice breaks the tension. "Mommy said you're like a hero in her stories," she says, hugging her doll. "That's why I called you Daddy." Cole's chest tightens, the weight of their words pressing against the walls he's built around his heart. He kneels by the fire, staring into the flames, seeing fragments of his past. Clara's smile, the blood on the ground, the silence that followed. "I ain't no hero," he mutters, more to himself than them. "Not then, not now." Anna leans forward, wincing as her leg shifts. "You're here," she says, voice firm. "That's more than most would do." Her eyes hold his, searching, and for a moment, the cabin feels smaller, the air charged with something unspoken, a connection neither is ready to name. Ellie yawns, her eyelids drooping, and Anna pulls her close, wrapping the blanket tighter. "Sleep, baby," she murmurs, but her gaze stays on Cole, wary yet grateful. He moves to the window, peering through a gap in the shutters. The storm rages on, the snow a white veil hiding whatever's out there. The rumble of hoof beats he heard earlier gnaws at him, a warning he can't shake. He checks the revolver at his hip, its weight a familiar comfort. Anna notices, her body tensing. "You expectin' trouble?" she asks, voice low to keep Ellie from hearing. Cole doesn't turn, his eyes scanning the darkness. "Trouble finds folks like us," he says. "You runnin' from something, Anna? 'Cause if you are, it's closer than you think." The Wyoming dawn breaks cold and gray, the blizzard's fury softened to a restless murmur, but the air still bites like a blade. Inside Cole Ramsey's cabin, the fire burns low, casting flickering shadows across the log walls. Anna sits by the hearth, her injured leg propped on a stool, her auburn hair tangled but glowing in the firelight. Her green eyes, sharp with unease, follow Cole as he stands by the window, the tarnished locket still clenched in his fist, its engraved initials CR. For Clara Ramsey burning questions into his mind. Ellie sleeps on a blanket nearby, her rag doll tucked under her chin, her soft breaths a fragile contrast to the tension filling the room. Outside, the creak of a boot on frozen ground lingers in Cole's ears, a warning that trouble is closer than the horizon. Cole sets the locket on the mantel, next to Clara's faded photograph, his fingers lingering on the metal as if it might speak. "You got an answer for this?" He asks, voice low but edged, his eyes locking onto Anna's. She shifts, wincing as her leg protests, but her gaze doesn't waver. I told you. I knew Clara, she says, her voice steady but strained. She gave it to me, years ago, before the raid. Her words falter, and she looks away, her fingers twisting the edge of her shawl. Cole steps closer, his shadow falling across her. You're holding back, he says, not unkindly but firm. That locket was all I had left of her. How'd it end up with you? And why's your girl calling me daddy? Anna's lips part, but no words come. The silence is heavy, broken, only by the fire's crackle and the wind's low moan. Ellie stirs, her small voice sleepy but clear. Mommy wrote letters about you, she mumbles, rubbing her eyes. Said you'd keep us safe, like you tried to keep her friend. Cole's breath catches, his mind reeling back to Clara's last days. Her stories of a friend in Denver, a woman running from a bad man. Anna's eyes meet his, a flicker of guilt in their depths. Clara wrote to me, she admits, voice barely, above a whisper. Told me if I ever needed help, to find you. Said you were a man who'd do what's right, even after all you'd lost. The words hit Cole like a gust of wind, stirring memories of Clara's faith in him, a faith he buried. With her, he turns away, gripping the mantle, the locket gleaming like an accusation. Before he can press further, a sharp sound cuts through the dawn, a horse's whinny, to close, followed by the crunch of hooves on snow. Cole's hand drops to the revolver at his hip, his body tensing like a coiled spring. Stay put, he tells Anna, moving to the window. He peers through a gap in the shutters, his heart pounding as three figures emerge from the fading storm. One man, broad-shouldered and cloaked in a dark coat, rides at the front, his face hidden but his posture commanding. Two others flank him, rifles slung across their saddles, their eyes scanning the cabin like wolves circling prey. Anna's breath hitches, her face paling. It's him, she whispers, voice trembling with a fear she can't hide. Victor. Cole turns, his gaze sharp. Who's Victor? He demands, but Anna's eyes are fixed on the window, her hands gripping Ellie's shoulders as the girl wakes, sensing the shift. My husband, Anna says, the word bitter on her tongue. He's why we're running. He's a cattle baron, owns half of Denver, thinks he owns us too. Her voice cracks, but her jaw sets, defiance rising through her fear. Cole's mind races, the pieces falling into place. Anna's flight, Ellie's trust, the locket tying them to his past. The plot twist hits like a thunderclap. Ellie isn't his daughter, but Clara's letters to Anna painted him as a savior, a man she wished could be Ellie's father to protect them from Victor's cruelty. The cabin door rattles under a heavy knock, and a voice, cold and smooth as ice, calls out, Anna, I know you're in there. Come out, and maybe I won't burn this place down. Ellie whimpers, clinging to her mother, but Anna's eyes harden, her fear giving way to resolve. He won't let us go, she whispers to Cole. He never does. Cole's hand tightens on his revolver, his past and present colliding like a storm. He ain't taken you, he says, voice low but certain, a vow he didn't know he'd make. He moves to the door, but Anna grabs his arm, her touch firm despite her trembling. He's not alone, she says. His men are killers, you can't fight 'em all. Cole meets her gaze, seeing Clara's faith reflected in her eyes. Watch me, he says. The standoff erupts as Victor kicks the door open, his silhouette filling the frame. A man with a sneer sharp enough to cut. His coat is dusted with snow, his eyes black with malice. You're harboring my property, stranger, he says, voice dripping venom. Hand 'em over, and you might walk away. Cole steps forward, revolver drawn, his stance steady despite the odds. They ain't yours, he says, each word a challenge. Victor laughs, cold and hollow, as his men raise their rifles. Anna pulls Ellie behind her, her injured leg trembling but her voice fierce. I'm done running, Victor, she says, standing tall. You don't own me, and you sure as hell don't own her. The air crackles with tension. The fire's glow casting long shadows as the men face off. Cole's eyes flick to the window, spotting a glint of movement, one of Victor's men circling the cabin. He shoves Anna and Ellie toward the back wall, his voice low. Get down. A gunshot splits the air, the bullet splintering the doorframe, and chaos explodes. Cole dives for cover, returning fire. His shots precise but outnumbered. Anna shields. Ellie, her hands shaking, but her resolve unbroken, as bullets tear through the cabin's walls. The prairie outside watches, silent and vast, as the fight for their lives begins. The Wyoming dawn spills golden light across the prairie, the blizzard's fury now a faint memory. Leaving the air crisp and still, Cole Ramsey's cabin stands battered, its log walls scarred with bullet holes, the faint smell of gunpowder lingering like a ghost. Cole leans against the splintered doorframe, blood seeping through his torn shirt. A bullet grazes across his arm, throbbing with each heartbeat. His revolver hangs heavy in his hand, its barrel still warm, smoke curling into the cold morning air. Outside, Victor, the cattle baron, lies sprawled in the snow, his dark coat splayed like a fallen crow, his lifeless eyes staring at the sky. His 2 hired guns are gone, one dead in the corral, the other fled into the fading storm. His tracks already swallowed by the prairie. Anna kneels beside Cole, her auburn hair loose and wild, her green eyes fierce with worry as she presses a cloth to his wound, her hands steady despite the fear etched in her face. Ellie clings to her mother's side, her rag doll forgotten on the floor, her small face streaked with tears but glowing with a fragile hope. "You're bleeding too much," Anna says, her voice firm but trembling, betraying the panic she's fighting to hide. She tears another strip from her tattered shawl, wrapping it tightly around Cole's arm, her fingers brushing his skin with a care that feels like a spark in the cold. "I've had worse," Cole mutters, wincing as the cloth tightens, but his eyes meet hers, softer than they've been in years, holding a warmth he thought he'd buried with his past. "You stood your ground," he says, voice low, almost a question. "Didn't run, even with bullets flying." Anna's lips curve, a tired but defiant smile breaking through her exhaustion. "Told you I was done running," she says. "You gave us a reason to fight for her." She glances at Ellie, who steps closer, her brown eyes wide and shining. "You saved us, Daddy," the girl says, the word no longer a mystery, but a vow, a bond forged in blood and courage. Cole's throat tightens, the weight of her trust settling deep in his chest, heavier than any wound. He pushes himself upright, ignoring the sharp pain in his arm, and steps outside. His boots crunching on the snow-dusted porch, the prairie stretches, endless before the cabin, the Bighorn Mountains standing tall, their peaks catching the first rays of sun like a promise of renewal. Victor's body lies still, a stark reminder of the justice Cole delivered, but the victory tastes bittersweet. He thinks of Clara, his late wife, whose locket and letters led Anna and Ellie to his door. Her faith in him, scribbled in ink years ago, feels like a whisper from the grave. "You were right, Clara," he thinks, his fingers brushing the bandage on his arm. "I ain't done yet." Anna joins him, her injured leg limping, but her posture unyielding. Ellie's small hand clasped tightly in hers. "What happens now?" she asks, her voice soft but searching, the wind tugging at her shawl. Cole looks at her, then at Ellie, and feels the walls around his heart crack open, letting in a light he thought was lost. "You stay," he says, voice rough but certain. "This land, this cabin, it ain't much, but it's yours if you'll have it." Anna's eyes soften, a flicker of hope breaking through her guarded stare. "You mean that?" she asks, her voice barely above the prairie's quiet hum. Cole nods, his gaze steady. "Ain't got no one else. Reckon you and the kid could use a place to call home." Ellie tugs at his hand, her face bright despite the morning's chill. "Can I have a horse?" she asks, her voice bubbling with a child's hope. Cole chuckles, the sound foreign but warm like a fire rekindled. "We'll see, kid," he says, ruffling her braid. Anna watches them, her hand resting on Clara's locket, now tucked in her pocket, its weight a reminder of the friend who guided her here. Weeks pass, the prairie shedding its winter cloak for a fragile spring. The snow melts into streams that glitter under the sun, the grass poking through in stubborn patches of green. Cole, his arm now healing, works in the corral behind the cabin, repairing a fence as Ellie follows him, chattering about the mare she's named Star. She's fast, Ain't she? Ellie says, her small hands mimicking a gallop. Cole kneels, adjusting her grip on a brush as she grooms the horse. She's steady, like you, he says, his voice softer than it's ever been. Keep your hands gentle, and she'll trust. You. Ellie beams, her laughter ringing across the prairie, a sound that mends something broken in Cole's soul. From the porch, Anna watches, her ankles stronger now, her face free of the fear that once shadowed it. She steps down, joining them, her fingers brushing Cole's as she takes the brush to help Ellie. The touch lingers, unspoken, but heavy with possibility, a quiet promise of something more. The sun climbs higher, bathing the prairie in gold, the Bighorn Mountains standing as silent witnesses to their new beginning. Cole, Anna, and Ellie work together, their laughter and low voices weaving into the land's endless song. In the 1840s to 1880s, thousands of women like Anna crossed the American West, fleeing violence or hardship, seeking freedom in a land that demanded everything they had. Many found strength in unlikely places, small communities, makeshift families, or men like Cole, who carried their own scars. Their stories, often unwritten, are etched in the soil of Wyoming, a testament to resilience that shaped the frontier's heart. As Star nickers and Ellie runs to fetch another brush, Cole and Anna stand side by side, their shoulders close, the prairie vast around them. Clara would have liked this, Anna says softly, her fingers tracing the locket through her dress. Cole nods, his eyes on the horizon, the weight of his past lighter now, replaced by a purpose he thought he'd lost. Forever, reckon she would, he says, his voice steady, a man reborn. If Anna and Ellie's fight for a new life stirred your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of the Wild West. What would you risk to protect the ones you love? Share your thoughts below. The prairie watches, its golden expanse, holding their story, a family forged not by blood but by courage, love, and the unyielding hope of a new dawn.